first in the series, and it was really, at the time, it was amazing. Now I look back at it, I'm like, okay, you know what, never mind. And then I look back at another. I played Jimmy Neutron, Boy Genius, the very
Okay,
first, the
so
movie version, like the movie game for PC. It used to be my game. I used to play that nonstop. It was, and that was around the time I was just playing Star Fox and everything, and I always used to tell my parents, "Hey, you know, I can finish this." But you see, it was so, at the time it was so hard for me to complete. I always had to have my dad
Star
finish it
Fox.
for me.
Wait, you're
No, no,
talking about
no.
Star Fox?
Boy Genius, Jimmy Neutron, Boy Genius.
It's
There
kind
was
of
a
weird
game for
how
Jimmy Neutron.
Yeah,
yeah, there
it was a
there were
PC game.
plenty of games for Jimmy Neutron.
It was the movie game, and I was like, oh my god, like this is so difficult. So I always had to have my dad help me out and
Was
finish
there a
it.
part of the game where you could ride in the rocket?
Yeah, you actually did ride in the rocket. It was a great game. It really was. It was like the graphics at the time were really nice. And then but it's like sometimes you would do things that like you would glitch out a little bit. It was kind of like Superman 64 in the way that the glitches would work.
Except, oh, I thought you were
It's
about
a
to say it
wait,
was Superman 64 except good.
yeah, exactly. It was good and the glitches didn't really kill the game.
Man, Superman 64 gets too much flack. It's like one of
Yeah.
those dead jokes to me now. It was a
Yeah.
game baback then.
It's like I loved Jimmy
It's
Neutron
literally
Boy
not even the
Genius for what
developer's
it
fault. It
was.
was Warner Bros. Fault for like, cause literally what happened with Superman 64 is the same thing of what happened with Sonic 06. The developers rushed them to get the game out by like
And
the
Duke
holiday.
Nukem Forever.
Duke Nukem Forever.
Yeah,
I
so
feel so
I mean,
terrible about Duke
like
Nukem Forever.
I loved playing the Boy Genius game, and then eventually I got to the point where I was finishing the game by myself, and I realized just how difficult the game really is. Like if you're play honestly, if you're playing that game in a dark room or just by yourself, you will actually like your heart will race a bunch of times because you're like nervous that, especially when when you have to avoid Yokians in like the maze of the chicken ship. That's part of the game that you have to like go through an entire maze. You can't see it from the top. You're literally just walking through the maze and pressing your luck, and you have
You
to
should try
avoid the
playing Duke Nukem
Yokians.
64 in the dark as a kid.
Which one? Oh, dude, yeah, I know.
I can't even play Doom in the dark.
Oh
It's
I
no,
like
I'm
can't
hungry.
I can't play Doom at all. It's impossible to see.
yeah,
Are there any
and
pigs?
like there are just a bunch of parts that are just like really kind of terrifying. Like even there's this one part where you're exploring like
I
Area
have no
51.
food. Oh my god,
It's also very
I'm
terrifying
gonna
because there's
die.
nobody there and literally it's just desert. And then there like
Where are the
once in a
pigs?
while you'll just
I'm
see a
gonna
bunch of
die.
some
Where are the
Yokians or
pigs, Tina?
something.
I'm gonna die. I
Where are the pigs?
ran
And
out of
then
pigs.
it was just really
They
it was
died
just really
because I
it was
killed
just really
them.
nice in the way
Oh
that it
no,
was
I'm gonna
made. You
die.
have your jetpack, you have Goddard, and
Ugh. Okay,
what's
I have
so
half a
nice is
heart.
Goddard has this little power where if you find a
Just
hole,
teleport to me.
you can control Goddard and you can use his camera and you can see what he sees. It's
What
like for a
you see?
PC game, it was really complex. It was actually something that like like your heart would race while you play it, and it's just like that's cool, and then I look back, I'm like, well, compared to like the games we have today, it could have been a lot better in terms of controls and everything. But I'm looking back at it
Before its
now.
time. Before its
Yeah,
time.
but now I'm looking, but at the same time, I'm
How
like,
do
for
I
its
TP
time,
again?
it was freaking amazing. And
So what you
I
Your name.
so what you're saying is that the game aged terribly.
not really. It's just that like
I never understand
if I
that
w-
phrase. When a
based
game
on
ages terribly, does that mean it gets better as time passes or it gets worse?
the problem here is that because we're so like the norm nowadays for video games is good graphics, no glitches, and awesome storyline, and no movie
And even
games.
then, people still aren't like extremists are
Yeah,
not satisfied.
and no movie games. And then it's like Jimmy Neutron was a movie game, but it was almost like the Amazing Spider-Man 2. That game, it was a
I sent
movie
you a
game,
request.
but it wasn't really.
Did you accept it?
No, I sent you a
It was
request.
totally
Oh, okay.
different from the actual movie, because you're literally playing only as you're playing literally as Jimmy and Goddard the entire time. You're not playing as Sheen or Carl. You're just playing as Jimmy.
Or Ultra
Oh
Lord.
Exactly.
my
Ultra
And
Lord.
gosh.
I honestly thought Ultra Lord was way
What are you
cooler
doing?
than Crimson Chin.
yeah, me too.
You have
Time
meat?
Where
for
are you, Tina?
death battle.
Alright, I'm gonna cook it.
So yeah, it's just like
Would you like to
it
be my
didn't.
battle buddy?
I don't think it aged terribly. I think it's just because the norm of today's
Let's go back
video
to your
games
base.
is just that we want games that are just,
I
Alright,
get
TV
you.
to me.
yeah,
Games.
that are amazing in
Yeah.
terms of like graphics and storyline and developer and everything.
I think a lot of it has to do with how the industry's changed too. When
Yeah.
Call of Duty first started, and I always use it as an example, and I feel bad for pointing to it, but I will. And here's my reason why for
No, it
using Call
sucks.
of Duty as the example here. When Call of Duty first began, it wasn't what it is today. Call of Duty was primarily all focused on combat and shooting, and not missions like take out the tangos and get to
Zinchenko,
get to the
Steiner,
base and
Dragnet,
defeat an
or
army of
Steiner.
200 soldiers, 20 tanks, and 50 airplanes.
Yeah.
No, it was just, shoot and get your way through this part of the mission and then you'll reach the end. And that was it. That was the game. And then when Modern Warfare came about, which was developed by Activision and I think Infinity Ward at the time.
Yeah.
I don't remember who did it. I think it was Infinity Ward. That's when the industry really changed because that's the first time they saw a game that would take something like the shooter and just pack it into multiplayer that would be instantly gratifying, that would just like grasp people into killing and let them die and respawn immediately without really taking in what just happened. Just kill and respawn and kill and respawn. They got used to that. And that's become the base model for so many games now. There's not that many games that don't have a respawn button nowadays. Just go ahead and list one and
Yeah.
then compare it to how many others.
Yeah, and it's just like,
Even, sorry, I'll say
yeah,
this
there you
too.
go.
Even the games that aren't shooters have respawn buttons.
Well,
You know
yeah.
that, right?
Yeah, it's
My
like,
I'm playing a game right now that has a respawn.
yeah, I agree. It's just that the way that we've grown accustomed to games is that many years ago they were they we look back at them and they're like bad, but then at the time we were like, oh my god, did you see that new game? It's so freaking awesome. I even remember back when I was in elementary school, I used to get excited about a
Are you
movie
okay,
game.
Lawrence? You sound as if you're gonna tear up.
No, my voice is. I would get excited about a movie game, and we all know we don't really discuss movie games here. I
Hey
would
man,
really get excited about them.
I will defend to the death good movie games. I'm trying to think of one right now. What was a
Amazing
movie game?
Spider-Man, all
Amazing
the Spider-Man
Spider-Man.
games, they were pretty good.
Spider-Man
And
2. I'll
Spider-Man
Spider-Man
2.
defend that
2 was a
game.
really good one.
Like both the new and original.
But that's the
Good
thing,
job, D
Spider-Man 2
Knox.
wasn't really all the movie games like that stray away from the actual movie story but have some relevance to it. Those are the good ones. Like we were just talking about Jimmy
Wow, Tina, you
Neutron.
left me no tree at all here. You just took the whole wood. Go on.
Jimmy Neutron, it was
I
had
built
to do
I
with
did plant some saplings, by the way.
the game, with the movie, but then it's straight away from the story of the movie. In the way that you play it, it's not completely the actual story.
Yeah,
The Spider-Man games, it's the same thing. You're not playing
like
exactly.
Lizard Man
Like
wasn't
like
in
in
Yeah,
Spider-Man
like
2.
in the Spider-Man game, like it's loosely based on the movie, and they add in a few more villains in order to extend the game's like
exactly.
length.
That's the best word to say. It's
Like like
loosely
like I
based on
think
the movie.
like I think the Rhino was in like one of the original Spider-Man trilogy games, and
Yeah,
he was never in the original trilogy at
I
all.
do remember thinking of why these games were made that way, and I was like, man, it would be so cool if they could pack in all these heroes from the game in the movie. And then later on, I realized that there would be no budget and the movie would be like 4 hours long.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what the part of the reason why Spider-Man 3 flunked. As great as it was,
Too many
Because
villains.
of
yeah,
multiple
people
villains.
there yeah, too many villains,
I'd
there's too
say
much that
because
was
too
too
many
much of a
people
story.
cried.
It flunked because the theater's flooded with tears.
No.
I'm gonna be
I
completely
meant
honest right now.
the
I
actors
like that
cried too
movie.
much.
I have issues with it just as much as everyone else does, but I actually don't think that that it's enough to demerit the movie.
Yeah, of
Hey,
course
I have no
not.
Be honest,
problems with
guys.
Spider-Man 3 at all.
You know,
The
and
only
here's
thing I
the
thought was weird was
I can see the stream like.
Peter dancing in the street.
Yeah, that was
I complain
horrible.
about that.
Yeah, like
Now
it
here's
had.
the thing. I'm the
That was
type
just
of person
horrible.
that everybody will hate a movie and I'll be like, "What do you mean? I love that." Like for example, I always use Grease 2 as my example because
Oh, here we
everyone
go.
everyone hates Grease 2. Everyone hates Grease
Tell me
2.
more. Tell me more. It was a terrible film.
To me, I believe it was an awesome film. I can't go a single road trip without watching Grease 2. It is that great to me.
For
And
me, that's. I know what you mean. For me, that's Shrek. Just Shrek 1.
oh, Shrek 1 was actually a good movie that spawned
I'm back.
3 different sequels.
Welcome back. Shrek it. Yeah, it
I
was
actually have a funny story about Shrek. When I was a kid, I was first introduced into the Shrek franchise through
intro
uh,
Shrek.
I was first Shreked by one of two options. I was like 4 or 5 or 6 or something like that. When I first found out
You're
about
a
the
wee
Shrek
little
movies,
laddie.
and basically I had a choice between two different options: an Elmo toy or a Shrek VHS, and I could only choose between one of them. And
Oh,
ultimately,
Please
jeez.
tell me you got the Shrek.
even though I wanted the Elmo toy, I chose the Shrek movie.
How
I
old
Yes.
were
popped,
you at
I
the
popped,
time?
I popped, I popped it in the VHS, and I made the right choice.
You were 5 or 6, you said?
Yeah,
Nice. Why do I. Wait a minute. You popped in a Shrek VHS?
yeah.
Okay. I was confused for a second because I thought that, like, around the same time, that Shrek was already on DVD, but I'm wrong because I did have a Shrek DVD, but not for the
It
original.
was.
I got it for the sequel.
I remember it was the original Shrek movie came out on both DVD and VHS. This was during the time when both VHS and DVD
For
releases were
options.
simultaneous. Yeah.
And where's the laser disc? Seriously though, like I've never seen a laser disc at all, and
those
it
Shrek.
was
things were
supposed to be somewhere between DVD and Blu-ray.
Oh,
those
Shrek.
things were like as huge as records, like the original DVDs.
Oh, really? I
And the
thought they
and
were
the other
just as wide as a regular DVD.
like the before like DVDs were a thing, they had these like large like discs that were like because one half of the movie was on one end and the other half of the movie was on the other end of the disc.
What the?
Yeah.
So
And it
loading.
was larger. It was larger than a record player, and you had to like insert it into this like ridiculous expensive machine. It didn't last that long.
Oh, okay, never mind then. So this is before DVD.
If you're talking about the bridge between DVD and Blu-ray,
What are you doing?
I'm not
Are you
sure.
trying to get in?
Oh no, I'm sorry. I thought you were digging a hole.
No,
I didn't do it.
I was
I'm sorry.
modeling.
Hey,
He thought I was digging a
modeler.
hole.
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I Laserdisc. I thought it was just as wide as DVDs, but I was wrong then. Somehow DVD has lasted this long. Like, despite all the advertising companies have done, Blu-ray just somehow cannot get a hold. It has
Yeah.
to be bundled with DVD and digital just to sell something.
The truth is, not every person on Earth has a DVD
Blu-ray is
player.
the
I mean,
same thing as
Blu-ray.
DVD, alright? There isn't much of a
Well,
difference.
to be
That's the
fair,
problem.
Blu-ray.
Blu-ray does
Blu-ray
And
is
have
more.
anyway,
less
you
audio
know what
and less
replaces
video.
DVD? Netflix and digital movies and streaming.
It
That's
Digital
already
movies?
replaced.
it's already
Yeah, it
replaced
replaced
it.
DVDs.
Yeah.
But to be
So I
honest,
wouldn't even count Blu-ray.
I prefer having physical copies of things media that I really cherish.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, that's why I have a copy of of Shrek. I have the DVD copy, and then I
I will
also
buy
have
that copy off of you.
and I have a VHS version and a DVD version of The Sound of Music.
I mean, it's good that Netflix has all these movies on there, so you could just watch them like all together without having to pay any additional prices and all that. I like that. I like Netflix. At the same time, though, nothing beats having a physical copy of that movie
Exactly.
because
It's kind of like
That's
books,
why
you
they
know?
also have
People
physical copy rentals.
people tend to
and
forget that
And the
Netflix
good
isn't
movies are
forever
on
either.
there.
yeah, and like
Those
not
movies are
nothing.
only there until the contracts terminate between Netflix and the company that they rent it from.
Yeah, nothing stays on Netflix forever. And with a DVD, you have more options like special features, multiple languages, everything.
Thank you. Special features. I mean, you
Y-
can't. If you had,
I
oh, Beauty and the Beast, best example. You can't explore Beast's castle on a Netflix version of Beauty and the
exactly. I
Beast.
love that.
Where can you get that? You can't.
Yeah, I played the Beauty and the Beast video game when I got it when I bought the movie.
It's kind of
Oh,
it's
so
kind
much
of
fun.
like just like books, you know, and comic books.
Yeah, it was
You
cute.
can read it on the internet, or even on an ebook. Which, by the way, I really can't read an ebook on a tablet or whatever. I get too distracted, honestly.
Yeah, because there's
Just
other
I
better things to
understand.
do on a
yeah,
tablet.
exactly. There, I'm not gonna sit here and read a book I see people do it, and I'm like, how the hell can you do it?
I can
Anyways,
write fan fiction and research for my battles on my tablet, but I can't like read anything on.
yeah, that's the thing, and nothing beats having the physical copy. If you have that physical copy of the book, you will be motivated to actually go through it and read it and read it and read it.
I read a whole book online, and that was the last book of
You can
Twilight.
you can only interest me if you give me like a something,
I was
because
serious.
that's
I read
Online
good.
or on a tablet?
On the computer.
I read one
Where did you
book
find the last book of
online.
Twilight on
It
the
was a
computer?
50-page
It
book,
was
and
for
it was a
free. It was a
communist
free
manifesto.
ebook, man. I found it. I don't know how. I just found it. Right.
I guess Suzanne, whatever her
And I
name is,
also
doesn't
read
need the
books on
money anymore.
Wattpad, which is basically an
Oh,
online book making community that writes short stories,
yeah,
Wattpad?
poems,
I've heard of it.
stuff.
It's just another fan fiction.
Yeah, but it's better.
It's a
People
better
actually
type.
try to write books,
Yeah,
not
it
exactly
really,
fan
The
to
la-
me,
fiction,
the
to me,
like
it
last
really
books.
isn't.
the first and last book I read on the internet, I mean on an ebook, was the Communist Manifesto. It and honestly, and Ray can attest to this because he watched me read it. I just couldn't focus. I could not read it. It was just it's so difficult having to read something from an electronic device.
I can understand
I
you.
do it on my phone all the time.
Reading isn't made to be on electronics. It's made to be
This
print.
YouTuber that I subscribe to, I was watching one of his Q&A videos the other day, and he brought up this very interesting point that I solely agree with. Um, I'm not generally like I'm not disinterested, or rather uninterested in reading. Like I do have an extreme interest in reading books and stuff like that. The problem is that when you're going to school and they force you to read all of these like 500-page books in like under a month and read them daily and stuff like that, that kind of discourages you, especially when the book is boring and you're not interested in it.
Since when have they
Yeah,
Compared
forced
to other
you
books
to
that you
read
grab.
500-page books? I've never
And
read a
because
500-page
and because of that, that
book before
stigma
school.
just sticks onto you for like the rest of your life.
I
My school,
died!
my school, when I was in over junior year,
No.
I was asked to read The Age of Romanticism, which was just like a collection of stories like Rip Van Winkle and Self Reliance from these writers, just from like 18th century America. And it was a pack about 20 pages long, and each page had, I kid you not, at least 20 paragraphs with very,
Damn.
very small text. And we had to read that within a month.
Wow.
We did read some, we talked about it in
Is this
class,
for
but
high school or is this for
yeah, it was
college?
for high school. It was just like my
High
English
school
teacher was
books
like,
now only have like 200 pages max, you know? Or like
well,
100.
the problem wasn't the pages, it was just the fact that it was a collection of books. So my
Oh.
English teacher thought, oh, let me just take all these books and like find a collection.
Well, now there's a mandatory set of books you have to read. Really,
I don't think
I think.
I don't think that schools should just like find a workaround and choose a certain set of pages to read to challenge kids. I think they should just like gradually teach kids that reading is another part of life, not just force them to
Reading,
you
I
have to
find
read
reading good
large
right
amounts.
now because we get really nice books to read.
Are you
Like,
doing creative writing and
yeah, we're doing creative writing.
yeah, that's why. You're not being asked to read about historical fiction. You're just being asked to read
But we did
nonfiction.
read historical fiction
Yeah,
in, yeah.
I mean that's
We
why you
read The
said now,
Crucible, we read The Doll's House.
and those weren't like the novels you're reading now, which is why right now it's a lot easier.
Yeah, sort of. Yeah. But like it's still easy. The Crucible and The Doll's House are pretty easy to read.
They're just not interesting.
Yeah, it's just not as interesting